Hi, everyone. Welcome to your latest Carson's Take 5. Ryan and Sonu. Sonu, inflation is in the news. We're going to talk about that. This week, we're going to title things, When Will Inflation Heat Up? But before we go there, is there any inflation on black shirts? Apparently, you and I are wearing the exact same shirt. Yeah. We didn't plan this.
Great minds think alike. And, we're in the black. What do we, that's a good thing. But being better in the black than in the red, right?
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, it's... Yeah, great minds. We'll just leave it at that. Great minds think alike. And the other thing is, what have we been told, right? Listen, thanks to everyone who listens to these or watches these, I should say, every single week. We have a lot of fun putting them together. Always thinking, what are you hearing? What are the things that the listeners of this video and regular clients are hearing? Well, we've been told, I guess I'll say for 3 months now, that inflation was going to really start to heat up because of all the tariffs. It kind of makes sense, but then Sonu, most of the economic data that we've been seeing, especially recently on the inflation front, it truly hasn't been heating up. Take this however you want to take it, because there's different inflation data we can talk about, but it's kind of running contrary to what we were told, right? So far.
Let's talk about, there's inflation and then there's inflation. As in, there's inflation you and me and grandma experience, and there's actual measured inflation.
Okay.
As measured by the consumer price index. And for markets, what do we care about? We don't care about the inflation you and I experience on the ground. Markets care about what the consumer price index says, right? And that's been, to your point, it's been coming in soft.
Yeah.
Right? Now, one big reason is that energy prices, and now this is where, there's some nuance else, but this is practical, right? Gasoline prices have been going down a lot.
Yeah.
So that's pulled down headline inflation. That's great. But on the other side, sort of offset, we would have actually gotten an even more of a, I don't want to say deflationary. You would have seen official inflation data pull even lower, but electricity prices are going up, right? Energy prices are, so within energy prices, within the CPI basket, within the consumer price index basket, they're almost, equal, the weight, right? The weight for gasoline. Okay. And the weight for electricity and utility gas services, right? It's almost the same thing. Utility prices are up about 15% year over year. Electricity prices are up 4.5%. So together, they're up about 7% year over year. But offsetting that, gasoline prices are down 12% year over year, right? Okay. So that's where you're getting, that softness is coming in headline inflation. Food prices, now egg prices have come down, thankfully. But meat prices actually starting to creep up a little bit. I don't know if you've, seen ground beef prices go up, right? But,
well, I'll say this much. I know Waffle House is still charging extra for eggs. And I actually brought it up to them the other day. I said,
and I bet they never take it away.
Eggs have come down a lot. They're like, no. I said, no, I didn't want to get in an argument with the Waffle House waitress, But nonetheless, I'm like, hey, egg prices are not where they were 3 months ago.
But that gets to full service, and I like to look at this as my gauge for inflation. Full service was meals and snacks, right? Doesn't make a huge part of, the consumer price index basket, but you and I eat out all the time. That's been, relatively elevated, right? That's because food prices are going up. And, the other part that goes into restaurant, bar, food, things like that is how much do you pay your waiters? How much do you pay your cooks? Right? Now, that wage growth that these folks are experiencing has been coming down, but then it's offset by food. But now the other side is we are seeing finally, Ryan, shelter inflation, right? For 2 long years, we didn't see shelter disinflation. We're like, wait a minute. In reality, on the ground, rents are easing, rents are falling, but the official data is not reflecting that. Right. But finally it is. So we're getting that tailwind as well. And then we're seeing our tariffs making an impact, maybe in places like household furnishing supplies. You can think of that. A lot of that stuff comes from China. But, airfare prices are going down. Hotel room prices are going down. Again, this is all measured, right? I'm not saying you and I experience it this way. That's why I said there's inflation, there's measured inflation, right? But that stuff, there's the glass half full way to look at it is like, oh, fantastic. Prices are going down for, services that you and I use all the time, travel, things like that. But the other side is, wait a minute, is it going down because of lower demand, right? So that's the glass half empty look, right? So a lot of stories you can tell, but I think big picture, inflation hasn't gone up as much as people are expecting. Yep. Part of that may be because how official inflation is measured. You and I have talked about that ad nauseum over the last 2 years. I hope we don't have to keep talking about it.
No, exactly. Again, there's different ways. No wrong way to slice this. How's the expression go? Skin a cat? Is that what it is? Skin a cat?
Yeah.
I don't know why you'd want to do that.
The cat.
I don't know why you'd want to do that. But anyway, nonetheless.
But yes,
there's something called inflation expectations, right? The New York Fed does a survey asking consumers, what do you think about inflation? Well, inflation expectations have been really high the last couple of months because we've been told repeatedly that the tariffs are going to cause massive jumps in prices. And we've seen some, like you said, but not across the board yet. Inflation expectations last month, Sonu, on the 1 year, the 3 years out, and the 5 years out, all went down. First time since October last year, we actually saw that. So consumers may be starting to expect lower inflation. What is this? How does this matter? The Fed can cut interest rates, right? They can hike or cut interest rates, either one. But they've said we want to see inflation expectations start to come down before we feel a little more comfortable on cutting interest rates. So now that we're kind of starting to see that, maybe that's a positive. The reality, though, is again, inflation matters. We understand that. A lot of people are expecting higher inflation, but we're simply not seeing it yet. Maybe later this summer, into the fall, these tariffs might start to implement and really start to impact prices. We will talk about it then. But for now, when's the inflation going to show up? Well, fortunately, we haven't seen much yet. Anything final, Sonu, in a couple seconds you want to add to the latest Carson's Take 5 on inflation?
No, I think, it's something to keep an eye on, especially because, of course, like I said, there's inflation you and I experience in real time. But, measured inflation matters, especially for monetary policy. And right now, interest rates are elevated. That's hurting areas like housing, right? Or even if somebody wants to move. It's hard, especially if you have to move from a 3.5% mortgage rate to a 7% mortgage rate. How many people want to do that? Not many, right? So that's the adverse impact of the Fed keeping rates as high as they have been.
Absolutely. So with all of that, this is your latest Carson's Take 5. Ryan and Sonu wearing our black shirts, signing off. We'll be back next week. But again, this was When Will Inflation Heat Up? We'll stay tuned. Hadn't happened yet. We'll see you by next week. Take care. Thank you.